but New York has done a nice job of just chipping away at the blockers and putting them into major foul territory, which has allowed them to then run away with and put points on the board.
Speaking of running away, Bustin Morneau is out in front, lead jammer status, way out in front of Ace of Skates, who's jamming for New York.
And that's Ace of Skates' first time out there jamming. He's been blocking. In fact, he's had one of the best blocking performances of the day so far. Oh! That's in play or not, that is a pretty egregious back block.
That was a brutal back block.
And Ace of Skates is going to sit down, and that's, that's a little surprising to see one of your veterans come in that hot and lay a guy out.
Especially at the beginning of the second half,
yeah.
when you've got a huge lead, it just seems a little unnecessary. But
well, the thing is that, this obviously you're going to give up a power jam. Obviously you're going to do it at a time when they've got all 4 blockers out on the track, and you just don't like to give somebody any momentum.
Exactly.
And Jonathan R. coming over there right now, having a little talk to him. And as only Jonathan can do, puts his arm around you and probably very politely explains, please don't do that.
Well, he's got Abe drinking over there with him as well. I think that there's a little Ace of Skates being sent out. He's left the track. Jonathan R. now taking his place in the penalty box with the jammer star on.
I'm not so sure. Was that ref dictated, or is that a team decision?
I don't know. I would think that it is a referee decision.
But I didn't.
Because I see it just being communicated between bench managers of New York. So I don't think that was a decision on their part. We could get a clarification later.
Well, he's not going to do himself any favors by banging in the stuff in the back here either. It's a championship tournament. Play like a champion.
Well, the New York Shock Exchange doing without a jammer at the start of this one, so a power jam situation in effect for Bruce Payne, I believe, of the Bridgetown Menace, and he's out in front for lead jammer status.
Distinguished by the black rec specs.
We're going to have to see if the loss of Ace of Skates for the remainder of this period is going to cause any problems for New York as they try to hold off the Menace trying to come back in this game.
Well, how can it not? The guy was amazing up to that point.
Well, the way that it could not is, next guy up. Next guy up steps up his place. Yeah, but that can't always happen. It doesn't necessarily always happen.
Looks like Shoots and Splatter's going to get a major. I think that was probably tripping.
Jonathan R. now out of the box, completes an initial pass very quickly, however, not scoring points yet. Bruce Payne's tied up at the back of the pack, takes a hit from Jeffery, knocks him outside, but Jeffery's going to get called for the elbow and sent to the box, and Jonathan R. picks up 4 points on that last pass.
Yeah, you can't even blink to think and not take care of Jonathan, because he's going to get through you that quickly. Jonathan apparently talking right now with
Raggedy Animal.
Or is that his coach?
That's one of the bench managers, Raggedy Animal for the Shock Exchange.
And right now, New York Shock Exchange down 2 blockers.
And Bustin Morneau's once again out
nice
in front.
Move.
Got out in front of Mullen Brando and had to sort of do a little pirouette to stay in bounds.
It was a nice spin move. It wasn't a spin move to get around. He got hit, but he used the momentum to turn himself.
Stayed in bounds, found himself out in front, and continued.
And nice job of sealing him to the inside. He does put a foot out of bounds, but he doesn't pass anybody. So he's not going to cut the track. That's going to be a grand slam, ladies and gentlemen. And what the heck? I say we all go to Dennis.
Well, he was held back just a little bit
but
by
that
Ladies
was
Night.
Early in elementary school.
Ladies Night did a good job of holding him back for a while, but he couldn't hold him back for more than a quarter of the track.
I can say that about Bustin. I know him, so. That'll wind up on, that'll bite me on Facebook.
So now once again, Sammy Dangerfield off the line for the Shock Exchange.
Sammy showing us some pretty nice moves the last time. Well, Sammy's showing right there.
Showing it to us right now.
I have a feeling that not only do we know that he's got amazing DJ skills, but now you have to wonder if he wasn't using them at a roller rink at one time.
I have to imagine that may have been the case.
Yeah.
But he's taking off the Jammer Star, going to return to the bench. He hands it off to Jonathan R.
He was just the faux jam. The ghost jammer, if you will. It's a new ploy. Everybody will be doing it now. Even though it was a mistake, everybody will be watching it all over the world, and they'll be doing the faux jammer.
Jeffery and Ladies Night in the box for the Shock Exchange, so they're going to be at a disadvantage blocking-wise, 3-2, when this jam gets underway after we come out of the timeout.
That Sugar Daddy and the rest of the crew having a little conversation. And we got Ron Lobster out there. I don't know, we haven't seen a whole lot of him.
That's right, Rob Lobster. Have not seen much of him in this game so far.
Nope.
Saw him a lot at Spring Roll.
We did. Oh, I'm sorry, I called him wrong. It is Rob Lobster. And if you don't get the reference, I don't even want to hear about it.
I get it, Bob.
I know you do. Because you also live in your own private Idaho, don't you?
So this one underway.
A traditional start of sorts.
Somewhat. Jammers are released. Jonathan R. just barely in front
Oh,
of Bruce
man.
Payne, but a block sends Jonathan R. to the outside. Bruce Payne up towards the front.
Rob Lobster puts a big hit.
And Bruce Payne coming out just ahead of Jonathan R. to pick up lead jammer.
Looked like Rob Lobster was going to stop Jonathan R., but as Jonathan R. shows us so many times, and Jonathan R. was shooting by him, giving him the thumbs up like, nice job. And that is Jonathan. I mean, Jonathan is not taunting him. Jonathan is, that's his way of saying, you know, that was really a nice move.
Yep.
Jonathan might be the nicest person you will ever meet. I can't, you know, and yet, of course, conversely, he is one of the more competitive people you will ever meet.
This is true.
The man has a game face that goes on when he's on the track, and right now on the track we've got...
That's going to be Tommy Gunn out in front once again for lead jammer status.
Only second time we've seen him out there. Sammy Dangerfield, they let him stay out there this time. And Sammy Dangerfield not getting any respect up front as they're going to run him out of bounds and into a track cut.
Yep, forced him into the track cut, so he's going to spend some time in the box. Power jam situation now for Bruce Payne, who just picked up a 5-point grand slam, looking for more.
Oh, Bruce Payne with a nice move to the inside. He ends up in a tomahawk to the outside, and now he is stood up.
That's Ladies Night.
Yeah.
Who cycles back.
Oh, I don't know. I think he left his feet.
It looked like he was lunging at the very least.
Yeah.
That was not a
we know him well. We know him well enough to know that he wouldn't intentionally try to hurt somebody, but he was trying to get there just at the last second.
His shoulders got ahead of his feet.
Yep.
They went faster than his feet did.
Well, Tommy Gunn was going to call it off, didn't, and now does.
Picks up 3, I believe, on that last pass. But that is going to bring the Menace's score up to 67. So 139 to 67 now. It looks a little bit different than it did at halftime, Bob.
Yeah, well, Aces Gates, once again, off the track. And I'll tell you, Ladies Night, lucky because he could have suffered the same fate. He
did get lucky that he didn't land that hit that he was trying to make, because if he had gone off of his feet and landed that, he should have been.
He did make contact. Yeah, he did not. He did not level him.
Yeah, he didn't land it as forcefully as he probably would have liked if his feet had kept up with it.
Yeah, but yeah, that's one of those things where sometimes you try to do too much and you lose control of what you're doing, and it can lead to you being ejected. They are not going to stand for a flying squirrel that is going to do major damage, is going to lay somebody out.
Bustin Mornos finally makes his way out of a duel with Jonathan R. at the front of the pack, and is not going to get lead jammer because of a track cut.
Sammy Dangerfield, I do believe, is going to be in that third turn for a while.
He is stuck there behind Rob Lobster, as we talked about at the beginning of this jam.
And where's Rob been? Because he has done nothing but wreak havoc ever since he's been out on the track.
Indeed, standing there at the rear of the pack, sort of in the sweeper position, just sort of cleaning everything up.
And is Bustin in the middle of that somewhere?
Yep, there he comes.
I don't know where he was from our vantage point. He disappeared.
He was in the middle of that pack and then just popped through, picks up another 5.
And boy, he came out with an expression on his face that said it all right there.
And Sammy Dangerfield pushed out once again by Rob Lobster.
Bustin Moreno is going to get run out.
And Sammy passes the star off to Ladies Night. So Ladies Night finally out of the pack as your new jammer.
And so Bustin, oh, nice job there.
Kept his feet in bounds along the turn, and turn 2.
He goes up on one skate. He realizes at the very last second that he's got to go to one skate. He's not going to stay in bounds. Nice inside jump.
Oh,
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how that one gets called. It doesn't? Was there a foul levied with that?
Bustin Mornos jumped right back up.
No, okay, apparently not. So that's the whistles just end that jam, but he does leave his feet and make contact. Though he is on the offensive end of things, I don't think it would make any difference.
So we've played not quite 10 minutes in this second half. The score now reads 139-76 in favor of the New York Chalk Exchange. So a little bit of a comeback trying to be mounted here.
This is much more than a little bit, my friend.
Of the Bridgetown Menace. Crawling back into this one. And they've really done it by staying out of the penalty box so far in this half. And when they're able to do that, their blocking is a lot more structured and they're able to adapt a lot better.
And if you didn't see the beginning of the second half, Ace of Skates ejected after coming in through the second turn and levying a very late, I shouldn't say, well, he levies a back block that was that we believe came in after the whistles had blown play dead. In his defense, it would have been close as far as whether or not things were still in play. I think it was the I think it was probably the power of the hit one way or the other that the refs weren't crazy about, because that was a blind shot for whoever. Well, I don't recall which of Portland's team members took it, but
as in any sport, what the play looks like is going to affect how it's called, and then that one looked ugly.
Yeah, it's actually, even though it's been a very physical game, it has not been a high-tempered game. So
no, it really hasn't.
Yeah,
at
so
all.
it was very out of context. So
and there may have been something going on there that we're not aware of, and I don't know what the situation was, but
you know, there's a reason why we're not aware of what's going on out there, because then we'd have to be skating. And though I can skate to a certain extent, I don't really want to be knocked around by those guys.
No.
I respect them for what they do. I like them as individuals. I don't want to strap on skates and go out there with them because they're not nice.
Yeah. I have skates and protective gear, and that protective gear is to protect me from the ground.
Yeah,
it's not to protect me from other people.
Not having skates actually protects you from all of it. Though I have skates too, also have skates. Actually, Ecstatic, being one of the few people to ever witness a announcer jammer takedown.
Indeed.
Yeah. I used to announce on skates.
Circa 2007?
Yeah.
2006?
Rule number one, if you decide to skate and for whatever reason you need to just run off the track during practice, and when you come back in, work the direction that everybody is skating in. Don't go clockwise when they're all going counterclockwise, as I found out in front of a crowd of about 800 people. I went to get batteries, I think it was, for the microphone. And I decided to go back to where we were announcing, and as I skated through, well, we didn't have the buffer zone back then.
Right.
The team, the most vicious jammer in the Mad Rolling Dolls, Jewels of Denial, gets run wide, and we hit face to face.
Pow.
But I did not break the microphone. That was the important thing. Because back then we couldn't have afforded another one.
So we're back into the action. Once again, Sammy Dangerfield with the Jammer Star for the New York Shock Exchange. Quickly out in front for lead jammer status, as this is a power jam situation we're starting off in for this one.
Yeah, and Sammy's got to be happy about that, because they really shut him down for 1 or 2 jams he's been out there.
And he's got to feel a little better picking up the 5 points there on that last scoring pass.
Well, speaking of feeling better, I wonder if he tweaked something, because he's moving kind of gingerly.
And he's got a little hitch in the giddy up.
Yeah, almost like a cramp or a pulled muscle maybe. But right now he's got a whole lot of Devastator sit blocking him.
Could be that the pink jeggings are a little tight, but I don't know.
No,
don't think so.
He's holding his. No. Yeah, we've seen a couple of people cramped that have cramped up, and I wonder if that's not what's happening.
So Sammy working on a 4-wall of Bridgetown Mini skaters up the front here. Don Juan the Devastator, foremost of them.
Yeah.
They have to let him go as the Shock Exchange skaters back up a little bit.
They get a pack split out of that. One of the few, if not the first one that we've seen in this game.
I think in that they also got the Determinator sent off to the box on an out of play as soon as that got called as well.
Yeah, as there's a big shuffle going in and out of the penalty boxes. Bustin Mornos is back in. He's working himself, trying to get up to the front. I tell you, Bustin, you know, you got to give Bustin a lot of credit, because he was really handled in the early part of the first half. You know, to the point where I really wondered if they'd even put him back in the jam, and then he has come out and been incredibly effective since then.
Absolutely, he had to go out with what we believe might have been a slight hammy pull early on in the game, and came back in at jammer, and has done great at the end of the first half and so far in this second half as well.
Banana.
Banana on skates, jamming once again for the New York Shock Exchange.
He was out there doing a jig. That's just wrong. Nice job there by Bleed'em and Reap.
So you're starting to
and there's Bangers and Stash saying, how about a little banger with your stash? And Banana comes shooting over the apex. Oh my!
And give him a little air guitar on the celebration coming around.
Oh, dude's got some speed.
Yeah, he's definitely
nice
some
spin
speed.
move.
Oh, and a nice little walk along.
But he's good to go. The block was out of bounds.
He walked along the line there, dancing a little bit, and finally got knocked out by Bangers and Stash.
He doesn't get the point, so he only gets 4. But he's looking at a nice run here. Oh, Bangers and Stash going to work him out of bounds again.
And I've got to point out, with the exception of Jonathan R. and Mullen Brando, you've got kind of the, almost the secondary squad in. You've got Harm's Way, Wolverine, Banana on skates.
Yeah, that's true. And he's got a grand slam.
Big jam here for Banana on skates.
He takes a nice shot from Devastator. And, of course, the only reason we are totally tainted in our view, because we know him as the Banana mascot, who's been around forever, and really don't get a chance to see him. I don't think I've ever seen him jam before today. And give the dude some credit. He's got skills.
Well, we talked earlier about how he sometimes acts as sort of a special blocker, comes in with just a few jams where he's really focused on a particular aspect of blocking.
Oh, nice jump through his own wall.
And almost lands on his feet, does a little spin move, has to drop to his knees in the inside of the track and calls it off. But
I will tell you, that was not only one of the highest scoring jams of the day, it was probably the most entertaining we have seen. Oh, my.
I gotta say, I do love the air guitar celebration coming out of the pack.
Oh, he's
coming around the horn.
Yeah, the guy is an absolute character.
If you want to learn more about Banana, he does have a book
yes,
available.
I was going to mention that. Something
about his travels
as a mascot.
As a mascot in Derby a few years ago. And Shreddy Mercury with the Jammer Star for the Bridgetown Menace. This jam trying to get around Filthy McNasty around the outside, does an inside-outside, gets through Filthy and Abe Drinkin.
Freddie Mercury with just one vision, and that was going to be lead jammer.
And he got it. Ladies' night being sent to the box. Did not see the camera.
Oh, my! Shreddy jumping the apex. He sticks the landing. Even the Canadian judge has got to give him a 10. Tie your mother down.
Landed that one
Sheer
and kept
heart
going.
attack, man. Sheer heart attack.
I don't know if that was quite as entertaining as Jack Hammond's jump earlier on in the first game earlier today. That was something else, but that was a very effective apex jump. Picked up a few points, called the jam off.
Mads Maelstrom, jackhammer, maybe one of the largest, strongest men out on the track.
Watching his duel with Seahorses Forever was great during the early game.
It was.
So once again, it's Bleed 'em and Reap.
Bleed 'em and Reap.
Not going to be your lead jammer, but he is way out in front. Jonathan R. gets the lead jammer status, calls it off immediately.
First time we've seen kind of the original rotation of jammers start to pop up again. And now that they've got some momentum, maybe that's part of what they need to do. And what's going to be interesting here is if they close things up, it could be how do you say that again? Banana
on skates?
Banana on skates, okay. Might be the difference.
It could be.
Oh, he'd be such a happy banana.
New York still leads 169-85 as we've got 14 minutes left to go in this one. Coming up, the 4-5 matchup between the Magic City Misfits and the Puget Sound Outcasts.
And Abe Drinkin, always considered one of the Derby brains of Gotham and New York Chalk Exchange. Very interestingly, positioning his own blockers up front as he makes his run through to be lead jammer.
Well, Abe Drinkin, of course, serving as another one of the managers along with Buster Cheaton for the Gotham squad in the WFTDA. As you said, the Derby brain out there on the track.
Well, I'll tell you, I give Abe so much credit for his work with the World Cup. Out at the World Cup, he put the bracket together, and it was absolutely beautiful. To think that we brought 13 teams in, which is, always difficult to work with an odd number like that. No, it was a thing of beauty.
Speaking of thing of beauty.
Oh, you don't have to say that about him.
Carpe Demon in the bright, sparkly Jiffy Pop shorts out there takes the focus off of Bleed 'em and Reap, so he gets through, but he's going to get a track cut penalty sent to the box for a major. So a power jam situation now in effect for, I think that's Shoots and Splatters, now wearing the Jammer Star for the Shock Exchange. His coach tells him to go ahead through and get another scoring pass, so that's exactly what he's doing, fighting off a wall in the front, trying to get around Carpe Demon and the Determinator. Push to the inside, still, gets knocked to the floor by the Determinator.
I think it was a combination of being hit from two different directions.
And so he does pick up the scoring pass, picks up 5 more points, does Shoots and Splatters.
And of course, we really have to give a huge, huge shout out to the gatekeepers for putting together what I think has been the best organized tournament I've ever attended. And I've been to a few. Shreddy Mercury, Clydesdale, we've not seen a lot of out there working. Abe Drinkin, who's on a power jam. I would say Abe's showing just a little bit of patience. Abe really showing that he knows how to leverage his body. Oh, in the meantime, though, who comes busting out of there but Bleed him and Reap.
He kind of busts through the wall of Harm's Way, Ronnie Mako, and Baynan on skates that was formed there at the rear.
Yeah, and of course the common jammer coming out of the box and nobody really realizing it. Always kind of expected that that's going to happen. One of these days I keep waiting for somebody to develop somebody who kind of keeps an eye on that and signals, but we've really yet to see it. There's not very many times you see that person so much as slowed down.
Right. And once again, a no-pack situation called at the front of the jam. Jonathan R. jumps through his line of blockers, runs into a wall at the front.
Oh, wow. Does he absolutely get worked? That's number 1,000. That's the Determinator. And he must break Jonathan R. Apparently is his goal.
Bleed him and Reap out in front once again. Lead jammer status for the Bridgetown Menace.
I mean, one-on-one, that's as well as anybody's played Jonathan R.
And I think, yeah, he got that called before Jonathan R. could score any points. So a 3-0 jam there for Bleed him and Reap.
And that puts us at 180-88 as the Shock Exchange starts to pull away again.
Baynana out there again blocking for the Shock Exchange along with T-Stop, Tornado, and Abe Drinkin.
Out there jamming, actually.
Oh, yeah, Baynana is wearing the jammer star.
Rob Lobster up front, as well as Bangers and Stash. And this time,
looks like Tommy Gunn.
And Stash is going to get him wrapped up, and you're right, it looks like it's going to be Tommy Gunn that's going to get through there and be your lead jammer for Portland's Bridget Menace.
Baynana still looking for a way out of the pack, finds almost had a little room to get around the outside, doesn't manage it. Bangers and Stash closing up the hole.
He tries to slip through, but all he can find is a bunch of opposition.
So Tommy Gunn tried to pass the star. It didn't work. He picked it back up and then called off the jam.
Because the star can be a slippery thing, my friend. It's nothing worse than dropping your panty on the track.
Especially in men's derby.
Helmet panty, that is. Yes, that's what it's called.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not.
It is. Totally acceptable term.
So official timeout, as we've got 8:07 remaining in this one. Once again, as I said earlier, coming up after this one, the 4-5 matchup between the Magic City Misfits and the Puget Sound Outcasts.
Yeah, that one won't be interesting at all.
No,
oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, that's the first one you circle when you see the bracket.
Yeah. I hope you've already got your stuff out and your sandwiches made and everything ready for that game, because it's coming up after this one. Then, of course, we've got some placement games starting this evening after this first round finishes.
We'll have two more.
And the first one coming up probably a little after 5 o'clock with the Central Mass Maelstrom and the loser of this game, which is looking like it might be the Bridgeport Menace. That should be a great matchup at 5 o'clock, Central Mass and Bridgeport.
And then we're going to see Dallas, the Dallas team take on...
Deception's going to take on the loser of the next game.
Yes, that's
whether it be Magic City or Puget Sound.
And I'll tell you,
that should be a great game too. Dallas against either one of those teams, that should be fun to watch.
I think that I'll tell you, we do know that the loser of the Puget Sound Misfits bout is going to be pretty shattered, I think. Both teams really have had a pretty good season. They're here with, all of their players. Everybody's healthy. Both teams have the ability to take the championship, and it's going to be a dogfight.
It's always tough whenever you see a matchup of teams that are that good having to play each other so early in a tournament.
Yep.
Because you lose out on one of the best teams going forward. But I think you're right. It's going to be a heartbreaker for somebody. Yeah,
and of course this is single elimination. Each team will then play, with the exception of the finals. The teams that do get knocked out earlier on will play against other teams that were knocked out in the event to be ranked. So they will be just placement games, really.
Yep, they will place the top 6 teams in this tournament. And Jonathan R. being sent to the box on a back block major.
Don't see that from him very often. Oh, and look at that. Is that Bustin Mornos?
It is. Bustin Mornos came into the box. Or wait, no, that is not Bustin Mornos. That is...
Oh, it's Shreddy.
Right, Shreddy Mercury.
That's Mr. Mercury to you. And, yeah, Shreddy Mercury. I don't think I can walk as well as he skates.
I know I can't. So 3 points on a no pass, no penalty there in the pack for Jonathan R. on that last scoring pass, and Shreddy Mercury sent to the box once again.
That's right. What's a band without your front man?
Well, with up to about 30 seconds remaining in this jam, Jonathan R. might have an opportunity if he can get past Bruce Payne and Don Juan the Devastator. Finally is able to, as his teammates backed up, created that no-pack situation. Grand slam pass there for Jonathan R.
Oh. Yeah, that collision having Don Juan the Devastator ended up going down. They don't call a back block.
Just happened again, although that was his teammate, I think, who knocked him down there.
Yeah, he got tripped up.
Yeah, I was surprised. Whenever I saw Don Juan go down the first time, I would have suspected a back block penalty, but nothing was called right there. So that jam ends with a little under 6:40 to play. It's 194-90 in favor of the Shock Exchange over the Bridgetown Menace.
Yeah, Shock Exchange, of course, in their typical black and white. The purple and black are your Portland Bridgetown Menace.
And this one underway is trying to hold back Ladies Night once again. He gets by Bustin Mornos at the front of the pack for lead jammer status.
Yeah, Bustin Mornos, I think, lobbying for being pushed, but not going to get anything out of that. And I'll tell you, I think we'll have to talk to Ladies Night and see if he's been lifting some weights, because he's used his upper body to get him through a lot of things today. He's played as effectively as we have ever seen him play, as certainly showing a lot of versatility.
Right. Well, I think that is his style of play. He likes to get in there and he does a lot of pushing. I would think, though, with only 5.5 minutes left to go in this game, with a 100-point lead, 100+ points, you got to start thinking about saving a little for tomorrow.
Yep.
I think maybe having some of your best guys out there pushing so hard is maybe not the best thing to do right now.
I'm sorry, but that NSO trying to get across the track before they started things up looked like a car trying to scoot past the train without getting
a bad
hit.
game of Frogger.
Yeah. And right now we've got number 8 out there again, Bleed 'em and Reap. Yes, it is
up against Jonathan R.
Both defenses doing a pretty good job at keeping things tight going through turns 3 and 4.
Jonathan being worked on a little bit by number 24, Demolition Man.
And then he's going to turn right into Rob Lobster.
And the pack catches up with everybody, and now Jonathan R. at the rear of the pack.
Oh, and then a weird, yeah. Trying to see if there was a call or not.
Only call that I saw was harm's way going to the box for a minute. Jonathan R. still out on the track, as is Bangers and Stash.
Demolition Man out there with a couple of moves and hits. We weren't sure how that was going to fare.
So Bleed 'em and Reap knocked out. It looked like he attempted to call the jam off, but he's sent to the penalty box. So
yeah, once you commit the crime, it doesn't matter.
So Jonathan R. picks up another grand slam, working on another scoring pass in this new power jam situation. Clydesdale has to let him go at the front of the pack along with Demolition Man, and another 5-pointer picked up by Jonathan.
We know that Clydesdale, we know that horse kicks. That seemed a bit evident.
And Demolition Man working on Jonathan R. way too far out in front of the pack. He's going to be sent out on an out-of-play major, and Jonathan picks up another grand slam. So that was a big jam there for New York.
Oh, I tell you, Demolition Man has been playing on the edge of drawing serious foul time for a couple of jams, and he finally gets caught. Whatever it is he's pleading and arguing about right now, he should just sit down and not worry about it. The game is almost over, and he probably got away with about 3 other things that nobody else was able to see. So
more than likely. And an official timeout, or looks like maybe a timeout for the NSO is called right now. Going to take a little time. We've got 2:45 remaining. 212-90 is your score. New York Shock Exchange over the Bridgetown Menace.
Yeah, this is always kind of that dangerous part where reality sets in, and somebody being, no, maybe not. For a second I thought maybe somebody was being ushered out, but that one bench is so far down the road over there that if they sit at the end, they are almost out of the rink.
So the clock has resumed running. We're back getting ready to start play.
And so from the outside running in to pass something along.
I think he was pointing out that the clock is running.
Oh.
Because on a timeout, the clock should not resume running until we get back into play.
Oh, picky. Sugar Daddy out there having to indicate the official timeout.
So we're still at a stoppage in play. They have added a few seconds back to the game clock. We'll see if they have any further adjustments to make.
Yeah, it certainly was running above 2 minutes when we had taken a look at it. I'm not exactly sure when the timeout was called. But one way or the other, it's not going to affect the outcome of the game.
No, I think they're going to go on and continue play.
So we can look at Bridgetown will play the 5th bout of the day, is that correct?
That is correct. They'll be playing in that last bout.
Against Mass.
Or wait, no, they'll be playing, and then game number 5
o'clock.
against Mass. And then after that, we'll see Dallas versus the loser of the next game between Magic City and Puget Sound. And once again, out in front is Ladies' Night. He picked up lead jammer and a grand slam. Pack is stopped on the pivot line. A 4-wall of New York Shock Exchange skaters. Now a 3-wall as T-Stop Tornado sent to the penalty box. Ronnie Mako, Bain on skates, and Filthy McNasty now blocking for the Shock Exchange.
Oh, nice job. Oh, looked like Ladies Night had himself leveraged to get through. They were able to knock him out of bounds.
So they end that one after a 4-point score by Ladies Night. Under 45 seconds remaining, and the clock continues to run, but they did just call a timeout. So timeout now official, and the clock is stopped at 42 seconds. 2:26 to 90, the score favoring the New York Shock Exchange.
A game that was actually quite tight until about 15 minutes ago. Portland mounting a comeback to the point where they were within about 60 points. And then New York shutting the door here on the closing 15 minutes.
That's right. The first 20 minutes or so of the second half were great for the Bridgetown Menace, going from 24 points up to 90. Almost tripling their first half output. But things have slowed down here in the late going. And New York will be moving on, it looks like, to face St. Louis Gatekeepers tomorrow.
Yep.
I know a lot of people are looking forward to that rematch.
Why?
Those teams having quite a history, with St. Louis being the first team to ever beat the Shock Exchange, and then New York gaining their revenge on them at Spring Roll last May.
New York beating the Gatekeepers in a very tight game in the champs
last
game.
Year. Came down to the final jam, 131 to 126. I still remember the score.
And then at Spring Roll, they end up meeting again. And
well, that was at Spring Roll, and then in the summer, St. Louis went out to New York.
Oh yeah,
and beat New York at home by 50 points. So they've gone back and forth, and New York, I'm sure, would like to score another victory against them here in St. Louis on their own home city tomorrow. In what is likely a final jam as we come to the end of regulation time, Bruce Payne out in front for lead jammer status.
Shoots and splatters out there for New York. He's hung up at the back. He's got Determinator in front of him. Two-stop tornado back on the track. Somebody takes it. Play carries off into the crowd almost in the fourth turn. And now we've got a full 10-man melee as the penalty box clears.
Yeah, Shoots and Splatters was having a time with the Determinator, and Don Juan the Devastator getting knocked around at the front of the pack.
Oh, man.
Gets hit once again there.
Shoots got mostly splatters on that one.
Yeah, well, that was Demolition Man doing the demolition.
It was a nice outside move by Shoots and Splatters, but he didn't see that Demolition Man had him in the crosshairs.
And Bruce Payne knocked outside by, once again, Bain on skates with the big right shoulder.
I tell you, that kid's got a future.
Well, one thing's for sure, he's certainly willing to give up his body. I mean, he just goes right at people and right into people. He's rather fearless. That's one word for it.
Well, he's a lot more. We actually got to see him just display his skill set today. And so that's fun to watch.
That is going to do it for this one. We come to the end of this one, 226 to 103. A 123-point win for the New York Shock Exchange. As I said, they move on to play host number 2 seed St. Louis tomorrow. The Bridgetown Menace moving on to play later tonight at 5 o'clock against the Central Mass Maelstrom.
And I tell you, X, that was, end score is not going to reflect the majority of the excitement of that game, but Portland certainly showing that they are a worthy opponent. I mean, this is a team that, again, we saw at Spring Roll do some great things. They come out here, they look even that much better. I don't think the Shock Exchange nor anyone expected that kind of fight for most of that bout.
Right.
And now, a year is all it's going to take. I mean, at the rate these men's teams are moving, they're making these. We're not seeing baby steps or just certain improvements in certain areas.
It's coming
We're
in
seeing
leaps.
all around. Yeah, absolutely. So much faster than what we're used to. And oddly enough, many of them aren't playing really, really long schedules either. So they're
there's
playing
several
5,
teams
6
that only
games.
have 5 or 6 games.
Yep.
There's the one team that's played 13 games this year.
Mass, yeah.
And they're going to be playing a little bit later against this Bridgetown Menace team, and that's going to be a 6-8 matchup. So according to the seeding, this Bridgetown team is going to be favored in that game.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, not only if seeding holds up, but to see what they're able to do with a quick turnaround from this game playing against New York to playing just a couple hours later against Central Mass.
I know. I get tired just watching them. I can't imagine what it's like this gate. So.
Indeed.
Anyway, congratulations, New York Stock Exchange, as they are going to move on. You don't want to go anywhere because we're only about 15 minutes away from what could be the best game of the weekend, and that is going to be the Misfits against Puget Sound. And I am Bob Noxious for the one and only Ecstatic.
Thank you, sir.
And we will bid you adieu, and we will be back in moments.
Stay tuned.